Hi, everybody. This is Shanice K with Ali. I am with my first guest. Thank you for saying yes. I definitely appreciate that. Miss T.E. Foster. She have amazing. Listen, we got some information for y'all. She got an amazing company, black owned, something that we need in the community. Okay, with something we need. She's supposed to have came out last week to our event, but things happen and it's okay. But guess what? We still got her this week. So I'm super amazing. I'm super happy, super everything, right? Super everything. I'm so excited. So let's get busy. Can you share a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to become a certified. Y'all hear that? Okay. Because some people be like, well, I'm not going to deal with this person until I know they certified. Well, she's certified.
Certified.
Firearm educator and licensed social worker. So that's two in one. Hello.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Shirley, so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's
You're
just
welcome.
Foster. I always tell you, just Foster, like in foster
Okay.
care. Just
Okay.
Foster. So, yes, thank you for having me, and definitely apologize to you and your guests for not being there last week. Definitely. I heard you had a really great time.
Yes, we did.
But definitely, thank you for having me. And thank you just for being flexible so that
Okay.
I can come on today.
Absolutely.
All right. So, stay frosty defensive tactics, right? Say stay frosty is a militarized term. We say stay frosty means to stay calm, cool, and collective at
Mm,
all times, no matter
okay.
what's happening,
Got
right?
it.
Um, so what inspired me? And it's like this is something that I don't know if it was an ego thing.
Mm,
There's this in Vegas, there's this big event called SHOT Show. So SHOT
mm,
Show is a trade show for all firearms related things. It's just a really huge. And when I tell you huge, it's massive.
mm,
But it's by invite only. And so I'm
mm,
like, okay, I need an invite. I need to figure out how I'm going to get an invite to this thing. But the only way that I was able to get an invite is if I created a business around firearms. So
mm.
I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Create a website. Okay, get certified. But prior to becoming certified, I was a part of a gun club, Diasporan Firearms Club, DFC, which is it's downstate and Nassau County that we serve. They serve. It's a social club for people that are black people that are interested in firearms. Anyhow, so that's what I did. And but the interesting thing, I always say that they say that if you want to make God laugh, right, tell him your plans. Because even though I did it because I wanted to get into this event, which I did, I actually got into it and everything, got the invite. Um, the community was lacking something. I noticed that our community was lacking something, right, which is being able to protect ourselves in a legal manner, in a legal way. And so I realized that it was a need. So I became the answer to that need. Um, and as far as being a social worker, that I've been a social worker for over 25 years, well over 25 years. I've been dealing with people, family, individuals that's in foster care, substance abuse, domestic violence, you name it. I've been around it. And so when you think about it, people say, how are you a firearms instructor? And how are you a licensed social worker or therapist? It's all about empowering people. And that's what it comes down to, empowerment.
Ooh, so that's dope. Thank you for sharing that because I've been in the human service field for a very long time myself. And it's a joyful thing because you want to help people. But then you have people who don't want the help.
That's
So
all.
it's like, what do you do? Like, what is my balance? What is it something that I want to do for myself? Because I can't help those who don't want to help themselves, right? So it's like it become a little depressing after a while. Like what to do now. So for you to, so are you still in the social worker field or are you out of it and you full time where you're at?
So, yes, I'm actually in the field still. I provide therapy actually on Zoom. I
Okay.
do telehealth
Okay.
to families, children, couples. So, yes, I still provide that service.
Okay. So you found another angle.
Yes.
Got you. Good stuff. Because going into, the field and working with the individuals, and then because I recently got laid off. So
Mhm.
it's like, okay, Shanice, what do you want to do now?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So what sparked your passion for combining firearm safety with community education, especially for the youth? You did mention the youth, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah. So the youth is really our goal and our focus, which is again our future, right? And so in my community, and I say community, and I say my, I'm meaning not Black community, it's missing that puzzle, that piece is missing. Individuals are apprehensive over the police for their reasons, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. But we have to understand that, again, we say nobody's coming to save us, right? We are responsible for ourselves, for our own well being. And so in the community, I think to myself, education is key. We say that knowledge is power, and it's really important. You mentioned something very important, Shanice. You said that what do you do when somebody they don't want to be helped? You just keep going, right? You don't stop. You keep going, you don't want to be the person that hold on to information, right? I never believe in hoarding information. I always believe in disseminating information to the community, to people. And so the community, at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves. And so again, education is key. When people come to me saying that they want to learn to say shoot, it's not even about that for me. It's the education piece. The education. You can never, even if you miss something, a shot up close, that's not my concern. My concern is all about safety. And I know we're going to get into that part. It's about firearm safety and the community, because there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of different on TikTok, Instagram, all these different trends that people are doing that are so dangerous. You know, things involving firearms. And then one of the most important things, if you understand firearm safety, we can negate or we can prevent a whole lot of things from happening, a whole lot of fatalities. So that's important, the educational piece in our community.
Absolutely. I like that because I always tell people that, well, a lot of people in the community know my story. I've been on television and so on. And a part of dealing with domestic violence is um not understanding, right? You don't understand where is this coming from, especially when somebody tell you they love you, right? So this is why we are phenomenal women is more of a preventive side of domestic violence, because we want to go out in the community and talk about those red flags and so on.
Yes.
So I know you teach because you was able to give me some information, so I dig some stuff up too. So um, you teach the four fundamental rules of firearm safety.
Yes.
What are they? Can you break them
That's
down?
that's that's great.
Hmm.
So think of the fundamentals. So we say four there's more, but the core. So think about kindergarten. We learn to color within the lines. We learn different colors. We learn the fundamentals. It's the same with firearm safety, right? We call them the universal firearm safety rules. And we say universal, meaning no matter where you go, it works. Whether you're in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Jamaica, South America, wherever you are, these rules apply and they work and they prevent what they need to prevent. So the most important rule, one of the most important rule is treat all firearms as if they're loaded. If if individuals could stick to that rule, that particular guideline, we'll have less fatalities, negligence. Some people call them accidents, but it's never an accident. It's actually called negligence, right? And so keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. That's what life with anything. With anything, you would think about the universal firearm safety rules. You keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot, right? Before you purchase a car, before you want to make sure that's the intent, that's what you want to do, purchase that particular car, that particular house, right? Same thing with a firearm. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. Another one we have, know your target. What's in front of it, what's beyond it, what's around it. One of the things we have on the streets when we have street shootings and stuff like that, people they don't know their target. And I'm not saying that they need to, I'm not condoning violence. However, most of the time their intended target is being missed, right? And the baby or the grandmother or someone, there's a casualty. And so we say, know your target, what's in front, what's beyond, what's around. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Treat all firearms as if they're loaded. Like I said, that's number one. If you treat all firearms if they're loaded, you don't have to worry about uh, keeping your finger off the trigger. You don't have to worry about knowing your target, what's beyond it, because you're going to treat it as if it's loaded, right? And so those are fundamentals. You can always kind of tell a grown up when they have manners or not, or they were taught good manners from a child, because they say please and thank you. Those are the fundamentals, right? Same thing with firearm safety. Those are fundamentals. They're meant to prevent. They're meant to save, prevent. Period. They're
Period.
meant to prevent fatality, prevent injuries, prevent negligence. And so those are a few of the safety
Wow.
rules.
Yes, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And this is why, first of all, like you said, we're not condoning
Violence.
any violence at all. We are coming to you live. We just basically talking about the preventive part of owning a firearm. And when I say owning, that means your name is registered to that firearm. Okay, like let's stop playing because a lot of our youth, I want to say angry people, right? Because it's not just the youth. It's not just the
No,
youth.
it's not.
It's not. So it's angry people who probably been bullied or whatever have you, and they will, yo man, I need that. And then they go out there and get something that's not licensed. They got these new things now, and it's just too much. And I feel like they don't, like you said, they're not being aware of their surroundings. They just not even a
Shoot.
target, they just shooting and it would just take them wherever it take them. And then, like you said, grandmom or a child is no longer here on the strength of somebody recklessness. Okay. So what are some common misconceptions people have about firearm safety and training?
So one of the biggest ones, and so I heard you say something about registration or registered. That's another story, and I said that's another story when it comes to registering your firearms. And I say that to say that it's almost like the government knowing all the alcohol bottles you have in your house. Do you want that? Do you want them to know how many knives you have in your home? And I'm not. It gets tricky if you understand me. It gets very tricky when it comes to registration. But that's another story. Um, so misconceptions. There are so many. One misconception or one of I would say is more guns. Or should I say, guns are always dangerous. That's not true. It's all about the intent because police officers carry firearms, right? Obviously, I'm not saying they all use it for good intent, but the purpose of the goal is really for good intent, to protect and to serve. Or what's that CPR? What is that? Courtesy, professionalism, and respect. CPR. Now, guns are not always dangerous. Is the intent, is the person behind the firearm, right? So that's a misconception. It's not. Because I always tell people it's an inanimate object. If you put it down somewhere, you'll find it right there when you come back. It's not going to move by itself, right? Guns are not, like say rifles or assault rifles. There's no such thing because a rifle is, assault is an action word, correct? And so
Yes,
it's not going anywhere.
right.
Um, this is very big and I'm gonna say this out loud. I'm not saying I'm experienced, but I have a little experience. But that means I still need training. Individuals that, excuse me for a minute. Individuals that have, what do you call that? That are experienced, they feel like they don't need training. Training is an ongoing thing, no matter
Absolutely.
how much experience you think you have. Um, that didn't lose you, right?
I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Um, The other thing is, not all firearms are treated. Not all firearms are the same. You see it on television where people are fighting and doing everything, and they pick up a firearm and start shooting it. There are some that require different type of movements, there's different mechanisms. They're not all the same. You're not just pulling the trigger all the time. So there's different things. There's different ways of operating a firearm. Also, for me, and I'm speaking for myself, they figure there's a misconception that people with firearms are very aggressive. If anything, you become so humble, Shanice. When I say humble, you have a lot to lose. Because at the end of the day, you're being monitored and you're expected. It's like you have a driver's license.
Yes.
You're expected to know better, right? Just because a passerby, or what do you call it, pedestrian, walks in front of your car, you may think it like, okay, it's a red light. I got the green. You got to know better because
Right.
you have a license.
I got a license, right?
Exactly. It's the same. It's the same as far as being a licensed or registered firearms owner. You become humble. Even if you want to do it, you gotta, that person that skipped you in line, go ahead. That person that, whatever it is, cut you off during driving, whatever, you gotta humble yourself. The expectation has changed now. You cannot be an aggressive person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's without a firearm. In general, you shouldn't be aggressive. Period.
That's true. But
Yeah.
that's what I said when I kind of opened up. I mentioned people who are angry, people who are bullied, they get, these weapons and they just go on a rampage and I'm going to get the person that hurt my feelings or whatever the heck the emotions are at the time of the person who is holding this particular tool. And like you said, when it comes down to training, even the professional
Police
social
officers.
worker, officers, any all of us, fire, FDNY, MTA, all these great jobs, right? Or even cashiers or whatever, they always need constant training. Because guess what? Things always change.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy that we did speak on that, and I love the way you are putting it in ways that people will understand. Okay, the way you breaking it down, I love it. I appreciate that 100%. Word up. In your experience, because of course we wrote down questions. I'm not gonna hold y'all, but that's not fake funk. We have questions here to stay on top of the game of the conversation. Sure. So, in your experience, how does hands-on training impact a person understanding and confidence, right? In handling firearm responsible.
Something, Shanice, and I think you probably could agree with me on this one. So in school, we all went to school in a sense, whether it's elementary, junior high, college, some higher education. At the end of the day, you learn, but it's all about the real world. It's all about applying the theory. At the end of the day, correct? That's what it's about. Applying what you have learned in the practical, in the real world. And so hands-on, there's nothing that beats hands-on. I can give Zoom trainings, right? And I can make it interactive and somewhat fun or engaging, but it's nothing beats being on the range, hearing that noise, getting popped with some of the casings where you kind of cinch your skin a little bit, having that real life experience, so, and it's almost like it's embedded. When you go through something like trauma, it's embedded. It's there. It's like it's on your cells. It's the same thing, hands-on, right? I'm a visual learner. I'm a hands-on learner. I could sit there for hours. You could be telling me something. It's almost like, what is that called? The Pythagorean theory or something like that in school. I'm not really sure what that is, to be honest. I don't know if I ever used it or ever will use it. I don't know if that was construction. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to apply that to the real world,
Right.
And how. So it's the same thing. Hands-on experience is just, it helps you to problem solve. It's a practice. It's like a practical skills. It gives you the confidence because a lot of people they fear the unknown, right? So they fear holding a firearm because they've never done it before. It's like driving. You're afraid until you actually learn, you practice, and you're like, oh, this is it. Just the other day, I learned to swim in my old big age, you know? And I'm like, thank you. I just learned to swim in September, October, right? I signed up
Mm.
finally because I'm like, yo,
Hmm.
there's too many planes going down, you know?
Right?
I'm like,
For real.
no, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I was so afraid of something that I didn't know. I was like,
Hmm.
wait a minute, I'm floating? That's it?
Hmm.
This is it? You know?
Okay.
It's the same thing. It's like to have that person be like, wow, like the light bulb goes off, like that's it, you know? And that's what it comes down to. It's just a practical, just hands-on beats anything else. Period.
That
You know.
makes sense. You gonna push me to try to go out there and learn how to swim
I
because
got a spot for you. I already told you that.
oh really? Okay, okay. Well, yeah, definitely. Listen, we're gonna do that for sure.
Yes.
You know, things is so it's so dangerous now.
It's always been dangerous, Shanice.
It's
You know this.
always, you're
Hmm.
right,
Just that
but
everybody got the cameras in your face and everybody recording
that
everything.
part, that part. And now we really see it, right? We
Yeah.
really see it. So I know one day I had pepper spray and
Okay.
I was going to court and
Ooh,
and when I went up to the cops and I was like, because I didn't want to put it somewhere and somebody
okay.
finds it, right? And I'm like, so and then I showed him and he was like, no, it's good. And I was like, thank you, because I gotta get back on this train. So he was like, no, 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 you're good. Yeah, it was, I swear he told me I was good. That was weird, but that's what he said. Go ahead.
Look, I want to hear the end of that. You was going to court?
Yeah, I was going to court.
So they
I was handling some business,
okay.
and I walked up to the officer and I was like, letting him know what was going on, what was in
In
my
the court.
bag.
In the court, please.
And well, outside the court. He was outside the court. But I went up to him and I explained to him that I have this particular thing in my bag and or they're gonna take it away from me. Because if they take it away, then I have to find some kind of way to hide it. So I was thinking about putting a brown paper bag and put
So
it
what did they do
somewhere.
when you got to court?
Nothing.
Interesting because they didn't take it and have you sign for it. That's
No.
interesting because I went to court recently and I had a flashlight. I always carry a flashlight, by the way. So I would also
Okay.
advise
Okay.
you to carry a flashlight. So
Okay.
they took my flashlight and they had me sign for it and I had to come pick it back up after I finished report. So it's interesting that they didn't take it from you to say, hey, sign for it, whatever the case may
Yeah,
be.
they didn't.
Interesting.
He didn't take it. Now my taser, he did,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was another time. But I was just like, oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just felt good about asking the question, because at the end of the day, we rather ask than and find out what's our next steps. What can we do if
absolutely.
they, do take it? But on the grace of goodness, they didn't take it.
I'll say
Mhm.
this. It's so important to educate yourself. And I say this because the police officer, I don't know their training, but I do know that there's a lot that they don't know. Their job is to make arrests and then you figure it out when you get to
Oh,
court. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So, like, I fly with my firearms, and a
okay.
lot of times in the airport, they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you don't know, and they don't know, that becomes a problem. So it's really
Right.
important that you educate yourself so that you can educate them along the way. I mean, not to say it's your job, but it benefits you.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense. That
A
makes
lot
a
of
whole lot
officers
of
do
sense.
not know the law, so it's really
Mhm.
important.
See, they need some training, right?
They need to be educated. Yeah.
Again.
In
Okay.
fact, in fact, and this is not a secret, they qualify once a year. When I say qualify, meaning they have to go shoot once a year. Which means if a person doesn't want to do self-development to go to the range every so often or every month to practice, they don't have to. Their only job
Mhm.
is to shoot once a year on that range to qualify to get their firearm back.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's a
Oh,
scary thought.
right. Wow. Okay. And why y'all got to get yourself together
Definitely.
or whatever PDs you're from.
Yes,
You got to
definitely.
get it together. So I want to
Definitely.
show a clip if you don't mind. Let me see. Let me get to it. Show a clip of you in action. So let me just make sure I go to the right stuff. This is powerful. I was like, girl.
Oh, that's the
Wishing I could write my name.
That's you right there. That's
okay,
one.
okay, okay. That's the shotgun. Okay.
And then this is what I really want to show the guys. Let me see. Look at them right there. Where would it be? Your gallery. I was checking all this stuff out the
Oh
other
yeah.
day. So what is the ages of the
Mm.
children, the people here?
So I would say this. So the range that I instruct out of, their age starts at 12 for the youth. However, for those that want for though I would recommend and I would encourage people to expose their child or their children much sooner, age 5, or when they can actually have a conversation, age
Mhm.
5 and up. As you're teaching ABCs, you're talking about the universal firearm safety, because at Freeport Revolver, and anyway, it's a private gun range. They start off at 5 on BB guns. So it's really
Mm,
important that they start as early as possible to understand the importance and the importance of just being safe in general.
right. And
Yeah,
you know, it's so crazy because some people will look at this and probably frown up.
of
But
course.
when I tell you other folks of other race, they do what you are talking about, which is
Yes,
5 years old, get them
yes.
started early. This is so amazing right here. Oh, okay.
And the great part is you're teaching them, or they're learning the right way, the right way and they're under supervision.
Got it.
Opposed to them
Mhm.
finding it with their friend's house or somewhere else, and it's just,
Mhm.
yeah, not a good look.
Can we talk about this right here?
Yeah, so that's at the range. And so we start off, sometimes it depends on the class or what individual, the package that they want. We start off
Mhm.
like this in the classroom. And then we move it to the range to apply what we learn in the classroom on the range.
So are you helping them get comfortable on
Yes.
holding? Okay.
Yes. The parts, you learning the different parts to the firearm.
Mhm.
Definitely the different so there's the shooting fundamentals, there's breathing,
Mhm.
there's the whole control. There's just, it's an
It's a
art.
whole, oh wow.
Just like
Okay.
martial arts, it's an art. If you have done sports, whether it be track and field, the breathing is so important. Same thing with fire
Yes.
shooting.
Oh wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So speaking of martial arts, I'm gonna drop next weekend. We have someone who's gonna come on and talk about martial arts. So that's
Excellent,
dope.
excellent. It's
Yes.
a discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be
Mhm.
used for good or bad. It's all
That's
about
true.
discipline, self control.
Absolutely. You know, during COVID, a lot of women were dying on the hands of their abusers.
Mm,
And I feel like we need to learn how to start protecting ourselves.
absolutely.
Martial arts. I'm trying to have somebody from Denzel that sell
And it's telling you to
oh,
engage the threat.
is this you here?
However, yeah. You gotta make
Okay.
sure you're hitting your intended target. And what we're talking about is home defense. We're not talking about the streets, because we're not carrying conceal, right? Home defense. Very important. It's very different. Advanced point. Yeah, we don't think about home invasions, Bernice. We laugh at it,
Mm,
but home invasions are real.
mm-hmm.
So do you have a home defense plan? What do you do if something were to happen,
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's good to know. Yes, we need to put a group together and come out and do this the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get back to our next question.
Yes.
Do you have any successful stories or powerful moment from one of your training sessions that really stuck with you?
Yes. And I think I sent you the video. Something that really stood out for me was, and I felt so honored. Um, one thing I want people to know, I never say no to people. And I want to say, let me bring it back, children. Because we have families that I don't want to say can't afford it, because we afford what we want to afford. Do you understand? We afford what we want to afford at the end of the day, what's important to us. And so I would never say no to a child. Never. Right? So I want to put that out there. One of the things that really stuck out for me, and that was like, I felt again so honored to be able to uh expose this individual. It was a deaf individual. And I learned I want to say I learned what is that, ASL. Like I learned basic level ASL a long time ago, the finger spelling and all those things. And so I had an individual who called me, but it was really, he had that interpreter, I guess, on the other line. It was little, I'm like, what's going on here? But I couldn't say no, even if I had to figure it out really fast, how I'm going to do this, you know? But really and truly, this thing right here, the firearm safety, again, is something that I don't have to have a lot of words, if that makes sense for me to teach you, right? And so the individual came. One of the things that's so great about social media, we always talk about the bad part about social media, is that the people that you connect with, like even with yourself, we've never met in physically, right, in person. So there's this guy who is actually a deaf individual who follows me. I reached out to him so quick, like, for him to interpret for me, like, and matter of fact, he's the one in the video doing all the, interpretation. And so he interpreted the universal firearm safety rules for me and for the client, which was, like I said, I was so happy that he was able to do it. That's why it's good to be good to people. You understand? Like, it's really good to be good to people, especially strangers. You never know who you're entertaining, you know? And so he was able to help me with that. And that was, like, to me, the most powerful, like, and this guy has a handgun permit and he's deaf. You understand? He came to me. Where did he travel from? He didn't drive. I want to say he took a cab to the range. So he's coming from the boroughs. He came to Nassau County in a cab. And I started doing my finger spelling a little bit, and I started writing down whatever I could just to communicate as much as I could with him. And we got on the range, and we were there. And he's a great shot right away. He shoots, you know. And so, as I was mentioning, there's a lot of vulnerable populations out there. And that's one, the deaf population, obviously senior citizen. One of the things I want to encourage people, do not be volunteer victims. And when I say volunteer victims, there are things that's going to happen that's beyond our control. But when we're outside, when we're out and about, your job is to be situationally aware. You got to have your head up. Get rid of that phone. We all do it. We're in the phone. We're not paying attention. We're going in parts that we probably looked a little sketchy. We shouldn't go. Take the long route, you know? And so, but that for me was the most powerfulest thing, just to be able to empower and educate someone such as a person that is deaf. That was
Right.
that was an amazing, that community.
So imagine, I mean, I would never even thought of that. So while you speaking right now, I was looking up like what's the statistics
Statistics.
on people who are deaf who gone through, some type of violent issue. And it came up, and this might be something I might have to get into, pertaining to domestic violence. I'm looking at this like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
If it wasn't, you know what, we all learn from each other, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We always learning from each other. So you just taught me something that I need to speak on when I go out in the community and talk about people who, because we got elder abuse. I don't never hear nobody talking about somebody who's what's
Deaf.
that, deaf or
Yeah,
what's
I
that,
always thought it
ordered
was
or
hard of hearing.
impaired or,
It's not hearing impaired. They taught me. They was like, it's deaf. I was like,
oh,
a
see
hearing
it.
impaired is two different things. Yeah.
Okay. So, and
Yeah.
it's funny because you don't want to insult nobody when you like deaf.
Yeah.
It just sounds, but it sounds harsh.
It does.
So, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now we know from someone who
Yes.
is, so they won't use the word mute.
No, that's probably something totally different, but I know it's
Okay.
deaf. For that
Okay.
population, that
Uh-huh.
community, it was deaf. Yes.
Okay. So let's show that video. I can't stand when they have this little thing up here. Um, Let me see. I'm trying to find it. It's underneath somewhere.
Are you able to show? Are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm on my computer.
Okay, I was like, can you show it from your phone? Maybe I can
No,
share
I
it.
got it. I have it. Do you see
Okay.
it?
Yes, yes. And maybe open it a little. Maybe are you able to open it, or does it allow you to open?
Mm-mm. Does everybody see that?
Yeah, that's why I usually do a lot of touching, but I always ask before I touch.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's Jose Rivera. Shout out to him. That's the Instagram
Mhm.
guy. And I kind of
Wow.
shield his face to give him that anonymity.
Are you able to hear anything?
Can't hear it. No, you can't hear it. You can't hear it. It's okay.
Okay. But that's
That's no, that's Jose. He's my Instagram friend that was doing interpretation.
okay.
Yeah. The black guy is the guy. I kind of covered
Oh,
his
okay. I see
face.
it. I see
Yeah.
it. Okay.
hmm
Wow. So he's doing his thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
He
him, everybody.
he's interpreting for me. The one at the bottom is
Mm-hmm.
interpreting the universal firearm safety rules.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That makes you feel good, right?
hmm
That's
hmm
something that we talked about when it
Yeah.
come down to social works type of work. Uh, I always say find the balance. You
Yes.
know, if you don't find the balance of something that make you feel good,
Okay. 'Cause that's all you're gonna get from that.
you know, yeah.
So we call it a thankless field. I don't know if you know.
Right.
It's a thankless field. Social work,
Okay.
dealing with people.
Okay.
Period.
Right. Because this is what I was telling my husband. He works with people during the day and then he works with people at night as well. And I'm like, where's your balance?
Self
So
care.
this particular day, he was like, he heard me, he listened to me. He was like, I'm like, where's your balance? You know, you're gonna be overly worked hearing people problems on a regular basis. When is your balance? So guess what we did? We booked a trip.
Excellent. Self care.
We are going away at the end of this month because it's
Excellent.
our anniversary coming up 6 years. And it was just like, thank you. And it was like, oh snap, she's right, you know.
Yes.
And for
Yes.
me, I usually will get back out there and start working, but I just need some time, time to figure out who Shanice is again.
Still. Yes.
Even at 50, you
Yes.
still need to know who are you again,
hmm
especially the way things is going. A lot of people is going to get laid off, and there are, people are so used to making that money and just forget who they are. Go
Yep.
to the movies, treat yourself. I understand the money's not coming in. You're going to think about that a little minute. Give yourself some time, just breathe. Because at one point, I was still waking up like if I was going to work, but I needed some a time to breathe.
Yes.
And it hurt, but I was just like, okay, now I could talk about my next steps because I couldn't talk about it before. I was still stuck.
Yep.
um, so what challenges have you faced while
Oh,
advocating for firearm education, and how have you overcame them?
oh, wow. This is the biggest challenge, and I thank you for this question because it made me really think. Um, One of the biggest challenges that we don't talk about in this arena of firearms is a term called, or it's a what's a diagnosis, or it's called plumbism, which means lead poison.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh wow.
yeah. And
Okay.
so I work or I instruct indoor range. So it's a whole bunch of lead, and obviously they have some type of ventilation, but it's never enough, right? And so when it's really hot and it's lead and it's just a lot of smoke, and so every 3 months I go to the doctor to get a something called a blood lead level. It's a blood lead level. BLL, not a BBL, but a BLL. Okay. Yeah. And so I encourage anyone that goes to the range a lot, especially indoor range, to always get their lead level checked because it's one of those tests that the doctor does not give you. You have to ask for it. And so what happens each time I get that done, administered, the Department of Health calls me because it's extremely high. And it's like, what is she doing? Is she inside of an apartment or a house with lead paint, chippings or whatever? Do she have children? Is she pregnant? What is happening? Why is her lead level so high and who's being affected? And so plumbism, lead poisoning. When I tell you, I wish someone told me in the beginning. No one tells you at all. For whatever reason, no one tells you. When I tell you, it's similar to someone that has arthritis. Your joints they hurt. Your joints, your blood pressure could be affected by it. The one that really got to me was the memory. It eats away at your memory. It's like your concentration. It's almost like you have ADHD. It's really bad. Um, and the sad part of it, Shanice, is whatever damage is done, it cannot be reversed. That's the hardest part to it. As far as children, obviously developmentally delays, there's learning difficulties, loss of appetite, irritableness, there's constipation, hearing loss. There's so many things when it comes to lead. So for me, that has been like, wow, that was a challenge for me. And what I've done to overcome it, you're supposed to really wear PPEs, whether it's a mask. And some of my videos, you will see that I have mask on, which wasn't always during COVID. It was just something that I was doing. But then after a while, you get so tired and I stopped doing it. And then it starts all over again. The lead levels are so high. Your lead level shouldn't be in the double digits, like say 10, 11, 12. Mine was like 19, 21. It's supposed to be like, it shouldn't be double digits, right? And
Wow.
so that was a big thing for me. It's a big eye opener for me. It was harsh. Even for men, it could cause like what do you call it, sterility or
Oh,
so it's
really?
yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it's good for people to know this. And again, this mostly indoor range, especially if they have
Okay.
really poor into ventilation. And that's if you are a person that goes to the range often. I'm not talking about if you go monthly, whatever, exposure. But I always encourage people, if you're going to go on a regular, to keep a mask on and don't drink in the range. Don't pick up the casings. If you do all that, make sure you wash your hand when you come home. Take your clothes off. It's like working at any place that's toxic. You take your clothes off, right? Take your shoes off, wash it, whatever you got to do. So that was the biggest thing for me.
Wow. Now that is something I never heard nobody talk about.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. That is a wow moment. That's all I keep saying is wow. I know I'm muted, but I'm just like, wow. I
Yeah.
never ever heard no one talk about that.
Hmm.
Okay. See what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Education is the key to
Key.
knowledge,
Yeah.
educating people, getting people to understand that even though you might not be there on a regular basis, but you might have other people that
Yeah.
actually train and don't even know. You never
Exactly.
know, especially to somebody who's new to this type of job.
Yes. The other
So,
thing,
mm-hmm.
there's another challenge. I
Uh-oh.
want to leave that one for last. And you mentioned it a little bit. I think you mentioned in the beginning, you mentioned you can't make people,
Mm-hmm.
do something basically that they want to do, even if it's good for them, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Okay.
Yeah, and so and so
Mm-hmm.
for me, I don't want another. What is that? His name, George Floyd, right? I don't want another situation where I can understand certain things. What is his name? Rittenhouse, Kyle Rittenhouse. Whether good, bad, or indifferent. And I say that to say, when I say I don't want another outrage for people to actually do what they need to do. And that's what we usually do. We wait for something to stir us up in order for us to go get training, right? In order for us to get life insurance, in order for us to get all these things that's necessary. We wait for something when it's too late. And so this is what I'm saying. That's a challenge for me because right now you can't get rich off of this. I'm going to say this. I'm not into this field for getting rich. Just like social work, that social work, it's you're not going to get rich. You're doing it because I was born to serve, right? And this is what it comes down to. I was born to serve. And so uh individuals, again, they wait for something to outrage them, for them to do what is necessary. And that's a challenge for me. It's like I'm telling you, hey, come get this now because we can't plan for rain when rain is already here. You know what I mean? It's like, where's your nearest shelter when it comes to if we had a nuclear bomb or earthquake or whatever, flood zone? Where do you go? You got to know these things now because when it's time, you're going to be in a frenzy. You're going to be all over the place, not knowing what to do. Right. And so
Mm.
that's a challenge for me to let people know. It's like, I'm telling you, this is good for you. To take this is a medicine. This is going to prevent you. This is going to increase your years. You know,
Mm.
that's what it comes down to. This is a little challenging, but there are people that are listening, unfortunately, and I'm going to say this, we're not listening. And when I
Mm.
say we're not listening, not enough of
Mhm.
us.
Mhm. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in social work they say meet them where they at, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I had my brother-in-law, he has life insurance company for over 30, I think over 30 or maybe more years. And we actually had him on our podcast, my husband and I,
Mhm.
and we had the lowest viewers.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's just like the information is out there,
Mhm.
you know,
It's not new.
it's not, I could put it up there. We could discuss it 100 times, but people just, and like you said, people are listening. It's not our people that's listening, So I'm listening. God darn it, because I'm going to set up my date. I just wanted to have my interview with you, and then we could go on to the next step and put my date in. And if anybody who wants to do a group, do you do group rates? I meant to
Yes,
ask you that.
yes.
Okay.
You know something? We do group, we do individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I I want to say I do house calls because at the end of the day, it's about the information. It's not
Right.
if it ain't necessarily. I'm not teaching you. We always say I'm not teaching you to be John Wick. That is not my purpose. My purpose
Mm-hmm.
is really to educate you, especially on the
Right.
universal firearm safety. And
Mm-hmm.
let you be comfortable. But we do stuff in the community, like how we were supposed to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like again, this is not here to get rich. It's really for you to be comfortable in a situation. CPR
Okay.
first aid, that's another
That's
thing.
right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Hmm. Right. Well, let's see what happens. You might have some people that will reach out, and at the end of this, you will definitely leave your information
Definitely.
on how they go reach out to you. So, for someone interested, like we talked about, in getting proper training,
Hmm.
what should they look for in the firearm education program?
Hmm. So you hit it on the nail when you said something in the beginning. Shanice, you mentioned something about, and forgive me. Remember, I told you that the lead kind of affected my memory, so work with me. So you said something about if a person is angry or something like that. You mentioned something about.
Yes. Yes.
So the first thing I always tell people before you go out and try to talk about you want a firearm or just in general, your emotional intelligence is so important. And we're going through, we've experienced. They say we came into this world through trauma, C-section, excuse me, vaginal birth. We came through this world through trauma. So we all have a stench or something of trauma, right? So and I'm not even speaking about that you have to be just flawless for you to have a firearm because I'm far from perfect. I get upset. But emotional intelligence is extremely important. At the end of the day, a lot of people, some of these things that you see that someone shot someone because they got slapped, we're not doing that. That's not equal force. That's not the reason. That's not what you have that for, right? And so that's the first thing I would tell everybody to check themselves, know their triggers, know what gets them upset. Know their self, their trauma. So that's the first thing. But when you're looking for like an instructor, a lot of people like to people that again that whether they look like them or someone that makes them feel comfortable, someone that we mentioned credentials. Now, I would say this: credentials are great, but we know some great people that have no educate certificates. But I would say this: it's really important that when it so when you want to get a big job done in your house, plumbing or whatever it is, right? You want someone that's certified where in the event something happened, liability, right? So that's really important that you're getting your information from someone that is liable, right? Whether they have insurance. Again, certifications is great, definitely. Someone that practice universal firearm safety. Because if you watch some posts of some individuals, whether they call themselves firearms instructors, they're not practicing the universal firearm safety rules. So that's what you want to look for, someone that's practicing what they preach. That's really important. And if you have to go far to get that lesson, sometimes you got to do that. It's like, God forbid, you have a situation, I don't want to say a disease or whatever. Sometimes you got to go take that plane to get that doctor that's really great, that's
That
an
is true.
expert, right? And that's what it comes down to. This is life and death at the end of the day. You want to be taught the right way. At the end, the worst thing is to unlearn something, to get to learn the right way. So why not learn the right way the first time? It's better to just learn the right way the first time. You want to learn from, mistakes in a sense.
Right.
This is not an area where you can't make mistakes. We
Mm-hmm.
tell people that you are responsible for every bullet that leaves that barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are responsible.
Mm-hmm.
We don't shoot up in the air because it's illegal. We see it on
Mm-hmm.
TV. It's
Mm-hmm.
illegal. We don't do that.
Wow.
Warning shots are illegal. Period.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay. That's another one that we didn't know. Well, I didn't. Let me not say we, I didn't.
Yeah.
And also your mental health, where you are at the time of planning to get a firearm. Where are you? Where's your mental at? Because there's a lot of people that have stuff going on in their brain that's not correct. And they go out here and they will, I don't know if they have a psych eval when they purchase. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna say this. Be
Hmm.
careful what you wish for. And I say this to say, so have you ever felt sad?
Yes.
Even a little depressed, because you fall don't mean that you don't get up. You're able to
No.
cope with life. Whatever
Okay.
happens to you, you have that ability to cope, right? And
Right.
so I'm always the one to say that, today I'm up. Today I'm great. I'm a firearms owner. I'm happy. I'm great. But tomorrow is another day for me. And I don't know what that brings. So I'll say this to firearms owners, responsible firearms owners, don't be afraid to get help. And I know that's something that if something is happening with you that you're not feeling right emotionally, I don't want to say you're unstable, but you're not feeling whatever you're feeling because it's natural. Get help. Don't be afraid. And I think that's one of the things people don't want to say anything because they don't want to be stigmatized. They don't want somebody to come and take their firearm, say there's a red flag and all these things. And I get that, but it's better to get the help. You know, before you do something that's going to require you to do some time or them taking your firearm away from you. So that's the
Right.
thing. We're well, we're healthy. Tomorrow may not be the same. Trauma hit us. Things hit us. So it's a gray line for me. It's a thin line for me, I should say, when it comes to those type of things.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your class, did you ask questions like, how are you doing today?
Oh, that's
Like, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's beautiful. Sometimes I see people now. So I don't know these people from a hole in the wall, right? I have a firearm on me. I always have a firearm on me, right? So here's the thing. People come, you don't know who people are. They don't know me. I don't know them. I have conversations with them on the phone. And you can see some people come in, you know what? They may had a good night or may not. And what I do a check-in. Sometimes I say, especially if I see it, I said, you good today? Everything's all right today? We good for this range today? It's a simple question, but it's serious. Because at the end of the day, it just take a second for somebody to turn that firearm. Because we're dealing with live rounds, live ammunition. Right? So yeah, that's a great yes, check in. With the kids, as a matter of fact, we check in.
Good.
When I was working in the actual office or whatever, there's a thing called, I forgot the name of it. We say, how are you today? What are your goals for today? Who's going to help you with it? It's a check-in. It's a quick check-in, and that's
That's
really
good.
important.
Yes, it
Yeah, to
is.
check people's emotional stability or their mental stability.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you can sense it if somebody looking, and whatever you do, I know this. If you go to the ranch, please do not be smoking or nothing. Please talk
So,
about it.
so here's the thing, and I want people to be educated on this, and I tell people because what you do is your business, whether you're doing it for medicinal purposes, recreational purposes. There's a form called, I want to say 4470, I forgot what it's called, but it's a form 44777 or something like that. I know that's wrong, but you fill it out when you're actually applying for your actual to get a firearm. It's not the application to get the firearm. You need this. It's when you're getting a new firearm. So it asks you that question about recreational drugs, right? And people believe because it's legal. It's not legal on a on a federal level, right? So people need to understand that if you check yes, they're denying you. So I say that not to give people, answers, but I'm letting people know information that you check that yes, you're not going to get that firearm. So even though you're not, say, addicted or you're not strung out, you check yes because you're a recreational user, you're not getting that firearm.
But I
So
also heard they could tell by your fingertips, right?
so no, they're not. So here's the thing.
Mm,
So in Nassau County, where I reside,
mm,
which was unconstitutional, and if they start a lawsuit, I'm jumping on it. So I had to take a urine analysis, a 13 panel urine analysis in order to get my concealed carry.
mm.
So that's unconstitutional, but I wanted my concealed carry.
Right.
So
Okay.
so it tests you for like a 13 different type of drugs, I believe it was.
Wow.
So as far as them knowing if you're taking it for concealed carry, more likely to find out. But if you're just going in to fill out application, if you smell like weed,
Mm.
they could tell you like you're not nah,
No.
chill,
Right.
you know?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So but again, I don't judge people from what if they come to the range and they smell like I would say something to them, like
Mm-hmm.
what's
Mm-hmm.
going on? Like, you good? Like, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on? Because I know there's
Mm-hmm.
some people that's in
The
the
nervous.
environment, but they're
Right.
not usually users or they're
Okay.
not,
Okay.
but yeah, but I will say
Wow.
something because I have a
Right.
duty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To make sure everybody is safe at your
Mhm.
ranch. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, what do you hope every listener takes away from your message today?
Yeah. So, one of the things that, whether you be a listener or a client, my job or my number one goal is not for you to be a markswoman or a marksman, right? That's not it. My goal is for you to understand universal firearm safety. That is the number one thing for you to be safe at all costs. But also, we have to understand that, and I think I mentioned these numbers before, that you're in Connecticut, but you do see people from the boroughs. And so the boroughs have about 9 million people or 8.5 million people, and then they have about 30,000 or so, we're going to say 35,000 law enforcement. There's not enough, which means nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. And it's not to scare anybody, it's the reality of things. By the time police officers come around, their one job is to take report. And usually they're chalking people out or whatever they're doing, right? And so it's really important that you try to preserve. Your job is self-preservation. We're not teaching people to be vigilantes. We're teaching people to survive, avoid, and prevent that encounter at the end of the day. And that's what it comes down to, just being able to prevent, avoid, if you can possibly do that. But if not, we want to teach you to survive the encounter and just wait for the emergency, whoever to come, because it takes a long time. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation that is pressing. 30 seconds could feel like a lifetime, right? And we know that there's certain area codes that they take a while to show up for whatever reason. That's what it is. And I'm gonna say because there's not enough police officers, whatever the case may be, you're on your own until they get there. You don't really see police officers walking into gun battles. No, they come when it's done and you're or somebody's on the floor. So
Mhm.
our job is just to prevent that and for you to survive whatever mess or whatever situation.
Mhm. Wow. Is there any particular like oh did they change? I think they changed the gun laws.
Whew. What in reference to like what particularly?
Carrying, I think.
Well, now we can conceal carry. In New
Okay.
York, definitely we can
Mm-hmm,
conceal
mm-hmm,
carry. You need an 18-hour training, which is 16
mm-hmm.
hours in class and 2 hours on the range. But you
Okay.
also need a permit before that. You need your permit, your actual
Mm-hmm.
pistol permit. So yeah,
Gotcha.
so that's good
Okay.
now. This is since 2022. We can now
Okay.
conceal carry.
Okay. So anyone who have a felony, they can't. No, right.
So everybody's situation is different. And I
Mhm.
always encourage people, and this is my thought. I could be wrong, but this is my opinion. I feel like everybody have a right to their life, preserving life. Nobody's life is say better than the next, right? Everybody's
Right.
life has value. If you
Mm-hmm.
are a felon and you went to prison and you did your time or whatever the case may be, I feel like, okay, personally, I think that there's some crime people should be what's that called? Regain their rights. They should be able to regain their rights. And there's others, maybe I don't know if it's I'm not Jesus Christ, So some people feel like they're not redeemable, but they did their time. So I don't know. But felons, usually if it's a vicious or a crime that's uh what is that called? If it's a violent crime, yeah, usually no, definitely not. But I would say if you have a misdemeanor, depending on what it is, don't think that don't count yourself out. Yeah, because I
Okay.
could just to disclose a little, as we social workers do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I have a criminal past, right,
Okay.
and I have
Okay.
mine. So I
Okay.
always tell
It
people that,
depends.
yeah,
Hmm.
juvenile. I have a juvenile, so.
Oh, this is from way back, way back, way back.
Well, it's juvenile, but I also where they even as a juvenile they charge you as an adult.
That's true too.
Yeah,
Got it.
so
Okay. All
I
right.
want to encourage people to just because don't count yourself out.
Right. Yeah, still go
Hmm.
and see what happened.
Hmm.
Just like you mentioned something with driving license, right? So the other day, my daughter was like, "Mom, can I drive just going up the block?" And I was like, "Oh, my grandson in the back go." It was so funny. It was so funny. But I let her just go up the block. There wasn't no car. She just went up the block, and then she had to go down the little hill. And I was like, "Well, so funny." So, at the end of the day, still um do the training, do the
Definitely
proper education, because she do have her learner's permit.
learn
She
from it.
does, right, and
Hmm.
she definitely did all of that. So that's why I was still okay with her doing
Okay.
that, just feeling comfortable on with the wheel. Because for myself, I went to driving school. I think I took the course twice, just in
Okay.
case.
Okay.
I just want to be
Sure.
overly trained. I want to be comfortable on them highways, down the road, whatever it is. And so even though you're feeling comfortable by holding it, still make sure you're good. Whoever that's listening, make sure you're good. um, you're comfortable, your mental health is good. If it's sometimes we might have a down day,
Yes.
as women, we have our menstrual, our mood swings is up and down, but like you said, you know, um, people who carry and actually have it registered is humble. They're not walking around with the hard diddy bop.
Shouldn't be.
Right, right, right. Or just flashing it,
That's
shitting.
illegal.
That's illegal.
That's illegal. It's called menacing. You can't. You see it on movies where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't you can't do that. It's meant they will say the person that you're trying to intimidate could turn around and say that you are now trying to I guess harm them.
Ah,
You know.
okay. So those who don't know, if somebody
Yeah.
flashing they concealed weapon,
Yeah. Yeah.
they this is illegal.
It's
They
illegal.
cannot do that. So listen, we learning more stuff. I'm learning more stuff. So I want you, we're gonna close out in a couple of seconds. I got this last question and then we're gonna get into something bigger. How can people connect with you or learn more about your training programs?
Yeah. So um what's really important I think is just sh- sharing information, right? So we have all these nice social media platforms. People use it for good. People use it for other things. Um, they're very powerful and they actually are beneficial. So I would say that the first thing people could do is visit the website, which is at Foster Stay Frosty, fosterstayfrosty.com. They can they can follow, they can subscribe to all the different platforms and just share. Even if they don't use it for themselves, send it to somebody that could benefit from it. And that's what's really what it comes down to, because the algorithm is really funny, but also one of the things that we're trying to do differently is change the narrative. Like we're tired of seeing our young boys with cuffs on when we type in gun and boy or whatever. We're not seeing them shooting like at the shooting sports. We're not seeing them in a positive light on a range. We're seeing them being felons or murderers, right? So that's what we're trying to change that narrative. So when people do type in black boy and firearms, you see them actually training for something that is beneficial, something that could bring them prosperity, which is again the shooting sports. They can compete, the Olympics, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so just share, like, subscribe, comment, you know. Again, for me, anybody want to come in and just be a spectator in one of my trainings, they can do so. Just to see what's happening, just to be comfortable.
Wow, I like that open door policy,
Mhm.
and you allow people to come in, check you out
Mhm.
before they take the
Mhm.
training. Yes, please go on the site, look it up, do your history, do your not history, do your research, right? Um, always do your research. Sometimes, I tell people, Google me because I'm Googleable, and find out who I am before you just jump into an organization and you be like, I don't even know what, because your mission got to line up with mine,
Absolutely.
or your mission got to line up. We got to just line up and make sure we're doing the right thing for the people in our community. Because
Absolutely.
even though I'm not per se in a building doing the work, I'm still doing the work.
Definitely.
We still go out and feed people. We still give out clothes. We still give out information, and that's the number one key for me. So besides this, now we're going to get into a health scare.
Hmm.
The reason why you did not attend the Women's Empowerment Summit on March 29th, if I'm not mistaken, that Saturday.
Mhm.
Um, and you called me, or we text, and you told me what happened, and I totally understood. And that's why I was like, just drink some tea or whatever I said at the time. Like, okay, I really thought you was gonna be there. As I was just like, she coming, y'all, she coming. But I have to understand that things come up. So would you be able to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting because we're going to call this segment uh, fibroids and firearms, or firearms and fibroids.
Ain't that something? That's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and so thank you for being so understanding.
No
Definitely, thank
doubt.
you for being
Absolutely.
understanding, because one of the things that I do not like to do is not fulfill a commitment, so I thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And although I knew, it sometimes is like, this thing is new for me. I'm newly diagnosed, and it could be confused with this a lengthy period, in a sense, right? Obviously, I think you're going to go over the definition of that thing, but that
Yes.
thing is, it's almost like you have to kind of like um, go on a sabbatical for like a couple of weeks, because to go out in public could be not only embarrassing, it's just it's a lot. I mean, I say a lot meaning, okay, so when I first got diagnosed was last year, July, I think it was last year, July. I'm gonna say last year, July. I had an intravaginal something that they use because I felt a lump, right? I felt a lump, and I'm like, okay, this don't feel right, but let me go check it out. So my doctor stated that my uterus was like um the size of a 3-month pregnant woman, right? Since that time, and now we're what now? We're about to, we're coming around full circle again, and they're still there, but it's even worse now. And I could feel them actually projecting even more. What I've been doing, I've been walking and exercising a lot, right? It's stationary in front of the mirror for like 2 miles every day. Because what I'm trying to do is, I see females that they grow a really large midsection. So what I'm trying to do is, if I decide to get the different type of removals, or a lot of them want a hysterectomy, um, that I don't have a lot I don't have a lot of extras, I guess, to skin, to, if that makes sense.
Fatty tissues, maybe?
Yeah, at the
Okay.
end, like it's
Mm-hmm.
not just hanging. It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
So I've been doing that, but
right.
it's devastating. Like the mess. Like I've been places where the mess. I mean, this like it's a slaughterhouse, if I could say
Yeah,
that. It's messy. It's so
yeah,
messy. By the time you change
yeah,
your, what do you call those pads?
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's liver chunks. I don't know
yeah,
what it's like, and not to be so graphic, it's almost like it's a miscarriage in a toilet
yeah,
if
yeah,
I have to go
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
It's really bad. And
yeah,
the interesting thing is, you don't know what people are going through,
yeah,
And I say that to say, like, life goes on. You got to carry on with your business, you know, and it's like, this is why you have to be good to people, because you don't know people break, you
Yeah.
know, what they're going through. But again, I
Mhm.
thank you for just being understanding of that, because it's
Mhm.
something that I hear people at one point, they said only this was a black person thing, but in the
Mhm.
group that I'm in, oh no, everybody
Mm.
catching it.
Mhm.
50-year-olds, 60-year-olds.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. So, I want to say you're welcome. I definitely understand. People know when it come down to We Are Phenomenal Women, and that's the reason why I named my organization We Are Phenomenal Women,
Mhm.
because we constantly um we take care of the kids, we work, we go to school, we take care of the husband, the boyfriend, whatever, and we still have to have a smile on our face.
And deal with us.
Right? And not knowing that I'm dealing with a migraine, dealing with fibroids, dealing with some people who have cancer, and all of this stuff that's just going on with ourselves, and we still smile and keep it moving. And that's why I named my organization We Are Phenomenal Women. And it was like domestic violence, all these little things that I put in. I thought of when I came up with this name. And of course Maya Angelou, Phenomenal Woman, but of course I put the We Are. So with the fibroid story, your journey, I definitely can relate to. The doctors at one point years ago said that I have fibroids as well. But what I will say is I changed my diet.
Mhm.
I did that. I don't eat red meat, I don't eat pork. Now I'm starting to not, because at one point they said the perms can do it.
Mm.
So I don't even perm my hair. It's been a long time since I had a perm or anything like that in my hair. But I do want to mention, I know people that suffer with fibroids, and as I'm seeing, um, they're growing and they're really big, and they mentioned 1 in 2 women deal with fibroids. Fibroids are common, they say.
Yeah.
What? You mentioned age. They usually develop in women age 30 to 50 and can sometimes run in the families. That's scary. That is super scary. When you mention that, and I wanted to do the segment on fibroids, really quick. I'm not going to get, because we're not doctors, we're not experts. We just know we have the situation and what can we do. So I seen this video right here, and it will break some stuff down to us as well.
While they can be as small as a pebble or as
All the way back. And for YouTube, I do not have I have the free YouTube, so please, if there's any commercials that come up, please don't talk about me, y'all. Respect my gangsta.
Imagine being at the mercy of a heavy period, month after month, then bleeding in between those heavy periods. Or think about having to pee frequently because of constant pressure on your bladder. Some of us are just imagining the agony of these scenarios. Others know the reality of them because they're living with uterine fibroids. Up to 80% of women will develop fibroids by the time they reach 50. Fibroids, also known as leiomyomas, are growths that form in the uterus. They're made up of muscle and connective tissue from the uterine wall. Fortunately, they're not usually cancerous. Another thing to keep in mind, having fibroids doesn't increase the chances of getting other forms of uterine cancer. Many women aren't even aware that they have fibroids because they're small and don't cause any problems. However, larger ones can cause excessive or painful bleeding during periods or between periods, fullness or bloating in the lower abdomen, frequent urination, pain during sex, low back pain, constipation, inability to pee or empty the bladder. Fibroids can grow inside or outside of the uterus and in the uterine wall. While they can be as small as a pebble or as large as a watermelon, having them doesn't mean that it's impossible to get pregnant. However, they can increase in size during pregnancy. Large fibroids keep a baby from being able to flip into the correct fetal position. This increases the risk of a breech birth. In very rare cases, fibroids could put you at higher risk for a preterm or C-section delivery. Because of these risks, your healthcare provider will monitor them throughout your pregnancy. Fibroids have been linked to infertility, although it's hard to pinpoint why. But it's possible to get pregnant after fibroids are treated. While we don't know what causes fibroids, some risk factors can increase your chances of getting them. They include a higher body weight, family history of fibroids, not having children, starting a period at a young age, starting menopause at a later age. If you're living with uterine fibroids, there is help. Your healthcare provider can review the options with you and create a treatment plan based on your overall goals. Fibroids are treated with birth control pills, IUDs, and over-the-counter medication. They can also be treated surgically or removed with use of alternative methods such as uterine artery embolization, and MRI-guided, ultrasound-focused, or radiofrequency ablation. However, a hysterectomy should never be presented as your first and only treatment option. If it is, get a second opinion from a provider who understands and is willing.
I feel that that was very important, and that's
Yeah.
because the first thing the doctors, majority of the time, they say is take it out. And I feel like, I'm one of those persons, and one of my girlfriends too. Her and I is on this. My mom raised me up with Back to Eden, that book, Back to Eden, and Back to Eden is a book that will talk about natural herbs and stuff like that. So when I was growing up, and like I said, I had asthma. My mom would give me this nasty tea. Oh my gosh! But the machine and the medicine was only when it was really, really bad. But the herbs prevented me from having one of those big in the hospital type of, asthma attacks. So on the grace of God, I have not really, I think I've been in the hospital twice. Out of all my years of having asthma from the age of 3, and I'm 50 and I still have it, I only been in the hospital twice. So I'm a big firm believer of natural resources first, right? Because I always say with the Indians, they didn't have hospitals. They did, but they had more of herbs. You go outside and get a tree and boil it, and it will be good for something, right? So that's why when I email text you back a couple of days later, I said, go get some.
That was up.
That's right. Get you some leaves. Matter of fact, I bought me some leaves that same day and drunk me some. It was horrible, but I had me some honey, and I started getting back into that. I drink that, and I also do. Oh my gosh, why can't? What is the name of the? My husband just mentioned it too. I make it into a smoothie. Oh my gosh! But anyway. I am a firm believer with that. Even during COVID, I was even more so heavy with it. Just do your research. That's all I'm saying. Just do your research before you, anybody make a big decision and get them taken out. Something can happen. You could shrink them. I even told my cousin to get some soursop tea. She got it. She shrunk. They did shrink. because they was really big.
Mhm.
And at one point it wasn't looking too good, and when you bleed out a lot, for me, when I bleed out a lot, I get very weak.
Energy is gone. Iron is gone low.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, I want to say to you, you're not the only one.
Mhm.
As you know, there's so many people that deal with fibroids, and talk to a provider that actually know. If you have a provider who is maybe Indian, maybe she give you some natural herbs, but yeah, it's treatable. Let's just say that. So, and it feels some kind of way, and it do mess with your mental when you don't understand what is going on with me, and why is this happening, and why is it like this?
Mhm. Mhm. And you gotta even planning vacations, like planning around it, and yeah, your
It's a
daily living
mess.
is like, oh.
Yeah, it's a mess, and you
Mhm.
just feel wiped out.
Mhm.
And when a client calls you and say, "Hey, I need this training," you're like, you got to push yourself through it. But in meantime, you're like feeling so sluggish, but you still got to come
Mhm.
with your best,
Yeah.
because people is not going to understand. Listen, I'm dealing with migraines. They're going to be like, okay, well, I'm taking my money someplace else. I get it. Trust me, I get it. So I want to say thank you so much. If you want to add anything, you're more than welcome. If you have anything else to say, because I know we're gonna close out.
Yeah. I would say this quickly. Um, there's no diagnosis or no, how can I say, there's no rhyme or reason why people get fibroids, right? Like we don't know. It's just something that happens, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But I would say this, we control the things we can,
Yep.
right? Therefore,
Mhm.
when I say we control the things we can, just to tie it back into firearms, we can control our own safety in a sense. And that's what it comes down to. We control the things we can. And that's all I could say. Control the things we can. For those that we can't, we deal with that, but control the things we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, everybody, I want to thank whomever was able to join in today and listen and get some good information. And once again, on our social media platform, we are not condoning any type of violence,
Yes.
not at all. We just want to make sure it is clear to the masses,
Yes.
because they be ready to block stuff, and that's not what we're doing. We just want to educate people on the proper things that they need for themselves, because you have to, would you say, learn how to control the things you can
Yeah.
control, right? You
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So with that, I say peace and thank you, Miss Foster. And I will be seeing you soon, because I'm
Yes.
going to be
Yes.
setting up my date,
Yes.
and then
Absolutely.
we can see each other face to face. And
Yes.
hopefully I can bring some more people
Yes.
along with this. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. And I'll see you soon,
Stay frosty,
everybody.
okay?
Yes, yes.